Hey everybody, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching in from. Welcome to another edition of Crypto Happy Hour. This is the January 7th edition here. And some of the big news today, although it's pulling back a little bit right now from the all-time highs, is Ethereum is running up pretty nicely right now. So seeing a pretty solid move from Ethereum, which is nice. It's impressive to see as we continue to, watch this. Let me just make sure that there we go. Make sure the chat is looking all good here. What is going on? Encore, Zedian, Big Shane, Doug, Patrick, Brad, Roger. What is happening, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. Hope you are having a fantastic day, fantastic night, wherever you are watching in from. Obviously, appreciate everybody's time here and hope we have a solid day. Somebody said, "Hey, how'd the Jets do?" They weren't in the playoffs. You got to rub it in. That's unnecessary. It's bad enough. It is. My life as a football fan is bad enough. When it comes to crypto, it's not too bad. But when it comes to football, not too bad. What's up? What are you drinking this time? So I got this as a Christmas present. My uncle is actually like a part owner investor in these guys. It's like a New York based, pretty small company, but Uncle Mark, if you want to throw me that sponsorship money, but I guess we can consider this free booze. So since it is from a family member, but that's what I'm taking in this evening. If you guys are drinking anything nice, definitely feel free to sound off in the comments below. And sorry for coming in here on a little bit of short notice. Somebody said call the brand out. So they do rum and whiskey. I think a few other things, but it's Van Brunt Stillhouse is they're made in Brooklyn. They're a small batch hipster brand. So cheers to hopefully a pretty solid day in the crypto market for all you guys. And like I said, hope you are having a good one. So taking a look at some of these questions here. Already got a few come in, so I appreciate that very much. Voice of Curiosity from a super chat perspective. And then Ronan, what's up? Thoughts on BNTY, Bounty 0x. I hold ETH, Litecoin, Stellar Lumens, and Request Network. If you're holding ETH right now, obviously that's a pretty solid day. Litecoin has, I would say, kind of not had the moves that I'm sure a lot of folks were hoping for recently in comparison to the rest of the market, but in some cases it kind of is what it is after some pretty solid moves from the other ones. As far as Bounty 0x, look, we've looked at these guys before. I haven't done the full-on white paper review for Bounty 0x. Depending upon, I guess, fairly just off the top, fairly interesting concept here. So as far as why they might need a token, who knows? As far as how legit everything is there. But if this is specifically in regards to bug bounties and things of that nature, I think that is obviously a pretty big business. If they can legitimately tie in token economics to that and solid technology, then it could be fairly interesting. Oh man, some of you guys are nuts. Thoughts on Dentacoin? That's not to say anything negatively about Dentacoin, but just looking at the charts overall on this guy, I mean, it was up to, look at that. Granted, maybe somebody could say, hey, you're bitter because you didn't throw any money in it. It went from being worth $30 million all the way up to being worth 2.3 right now, 2.3 billion. I mean, from the website itself, they're pretty early on in terms of their roadmap. So, I mean, pretty early on in terms of the roadmap, which is, I don't know. This is, I think, is in some case exemplifies how crazy this market is getting right now, where a platform basically not to disparage them if they've been working on it for a while. I haven't seen kind of everything there, but right now I believe pretty much what they have released is the testnet for their review platform or for their dentist review platform, but they're still a year out from Dentacoin insurance on testnet. So they're still far away from a lot of this stuff. And I think this is fairly indicative of how crazy this market is getting. Crocotubs, what's up, my man? I appreciate your super chat and your chats as always, dude. You're just very, very kind, so thank you. Taking a look at some of these other questions here as well. Ronan, again, appreciate that. Luke, what is up, dude? Thoughts on Stellar and FairX? Take a pop over at XLM. Stellar's consolidated fairly nicely as of late. I mean, in my mind, Stellar's probably a little bit like overextended for me to really be super interested in Stellar right now. I think it's at that point where it's consolidating nicely, but I still think there could be a pretty significant leg downwards if the market moves in a negative manner. So I am not I'm not too massive on Stellar. Somebody said thoughts on the Gems ICO. That is one that I have there's a number of people. I haven't actually gotten a chance to speak with them. I'm hoping to speak with the founding team on the Gems ICO, but they're an ICO that I've heard a lot of really solid things about. I've done a little bit of light due diligence on them. They have a very similar advising team to the Bloom ICO, which I think is beneficial. I know from kind of initial research that they're pretty oversubscribed in terms of the initial interest. So Gems might be one, and I think ICO interest cooled off real hard. As a lot of you guys know, ICO interest cooled off real hard between October and December. A lot of those projects didn't do too well. Now a lot of those ICOs are going through the roof. And now everybody is interested in what's the next ICO. So something to definitely keep in mind. Taking a look at some of these thoughts on the chain trades team and goal. So I haven't done any due diligence on these guys, to be pretty honest with you. I'll take a look just to see what's up with. So if they're a recent ICO or if they're an ICO-ing company, so I'm assuming obviously Chain Trade ICO, decentralized food platform for raw materials. Yeah, I haven't done any due diligence on these guys. I guess it's the ICO is over, or at least they're transferable if they're trading on Ether Delta now. So I would have to look into these guys a little bit further to see kind of how legit they might be. But there's an ICO for everything. There's a token for everything now, which it's good and bad in a lot of respects. Who knows? So looking at thoughts on the Wanchain I'm assuming Wanchain ICO. That is another one. A lot of questions about ICOs, and again, I think that is due to the fact that some of the ICOs have performed pretty well recently, and that is leading a lot of folks to kind of look for that next big move. Cross-chain smart contracts and privacy, two massive buzzwords. Those are two things that I think a lot of people are looking at from an investment perspective. Cross-chain is, I feel like, pretty far off in a lot of respects from a technical perspective, but some folks are, I think it's fairly far off from a technical perspective, but it's something where you can invest early on and be hopeful that you'll see some level of appreciation. So I've heard fairly positive things about Wanchain, but I haven't really dug into them too much, too crazily. So somebody said thoughts on props. I'm actually really looking forward to props and Rise. I know I'm an advisor or advised them during the ICO process. That's pretty much over at this point in time. But with their hard cap at 25 mil that they sold out, and with some of these just absolute dog crap projects, I'm very hopeful that we're going to see a pretty significant appreciation on props. I'm hopeful of that. Could I be completely wrong? Absolutely. But I am very much, I'm very much at this point in time, I'm very much hopeful that we'll see a pretty significant move up from the overall investment, from any investment within props. I think that $25 million hard cap is something that they were intelligent about doing at a good, at a time when a lot of companies were going for massive market caps and they got crushed. So, Crockett Tubbs, do I look nervous tonight? No, I'm okay, brother. I'm okay. I'm all here for you. Again, I appreciate your critical comments. I look forward to hopefully learning more and providing better value to you and to anybody else that's watching this, because, I need to provide better value on a consistent basis. Otherwise, it's not worth watching. So I appreciate your critical comments, brother. I'm all here for it. When everybody's saying hodl, 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 can you give any advice, strategy, or links for when to sell and take profit? So I think you want to have that in mind before you go into a trade when it comes down to taking profits. Whether you're looking for a multiple X, whether you're looking for a 25% gain or a 50% gain, I think there is a certain time where it's made sense recently to hold everything, just because the market has appreciated pretty much throughout. But at this point in time, you do want to look, I think, at taking some level of profits. For me personally, when I look at taking profits, a lot of it is I look into taking profits in Bitcoin, especially if the altcoin market is crushing it, because I do think Bitcoin long term is going to continue to appreciate. So a lot of times when I'm looking at taking profits, it's taking profits in Bitcoin. So I might take out my initial investment plus some additional profit, let the rest ride, and see what ends up happening there. So looking at some more of these questions, Adam mentions, Rob, you've had made some good cash. Well, you've made some good cash for yourself. Nothing on me. Invest in the Bloom ICO. I heard they don't plan to have a coin on a market. Thoughts? How do I get my investment out? Shout out to my boy, Brian Foster. So this is something that I guess from the perspective of an ICO investor, I think the Bloom team has made it fairly clear, and even when talking to Jesse, getting onto an exchange isn't necessarily the biggest priority for them. Obviously, for somebody that has put money into an ICO, hoping to increase the value of their investment, the more markets you're on, the better that investment is going to do, the better you're going to do from a long-term investment standpoint. The more accessibility, I've talked about it before, but accessibility in crypto is a legit thing. The more accessible a crypto investment is, the better it is going to do in the long term. If it's just trading on Ether Delta, it's probably not going to do that fantastic, or it might be harder for that to appreciate to the levels that you'd like to see. With that being said, I would say, I would probably expect, I know Bloom is being traded, I think, on Ether Delta right now and one other smaller exchange. I would expect it to get added to some other exchanges as time goes on. But I think my feeling is just the Bloom team is trying to say, hey, we're just heads down working on an actual product and not necessarily trying to throw this on every single exchange possible to appreciate the token price, which you can respect in a lot of standpoints, because they are trying to actually develop a product and not just appreciate the price of their token. But as people, I'm sure a lot of people are straight up speculating on the price. That kind of sucks to hear as well. So, for me personally, I'm fine with it. I think you just want to be a little bit patient. But it'll get there eventually, and when it does, from just the initial standpoint, it has held on to the value of Ethereum, if not gone a little bit more, and the community has applied to other exchanges as well, like somebody mentioned too. So somebody said, what do you think of the crypto upcoming ICO capacity? And I'm going to be pretty frank, guys. I haven't had a chance to look into it. There are so many ICOs that have come out and that are coming out on a consistent basis. So from an ICO perspective, I'm definitely not able to look at every single ICO that is coming out or have really solid thoughts on every single ICO. Decentralized AR, VR ecosystem with 3D content exchange. So I would assume this is some level of a competitor to Decentraland, which has done pretty well in the open markets as of late. I don't know exactly how it might differentiate from Decentraland. To be honest, fairly basic website. I guess they raised money back in 2014. I'd have to look into them a little bit further, but if you were looking at this, I would try to find out how it differs from Decentraland, why it would be a better investment from Decentraland, or why it would be a better long-term play, or some of the other platforms out there as well. So I would continue to do that due diligence on that one as well. So Crocotubs, can you look at IOTA and I don't know what the other one is, but we'll take a look at IOTA, and this is only if you promise to be nice to me and not troll me anymore. So shout out to you, brother. So IOTA has, for the most part, consolidated pretty nicely after its massive spike. Still up, I would say a nice amount. Let me put this. We'll look it into a daily. But it's kind of consolidated fairly nicely in this little bit of a pattern here, and I think that it's somewhat healthy to see that in a lot of respects. I still do think that like IOTA could potentially be really game-changing technology. I think that they do have to prove that, to be pretty frank. You know, there are a lot of highly valued crypto. There are a lot of highly valued assets out there right now from a crypto perspective. We'll pop it open right now. IOTA is number 10 in terms of just overall network value, but IOTA has to prove something. I think Tron definitely has to prove something, and we'll talk about Tron in a second. Stellar Lumens has to prove something. Cardano, which I'm bullish on all time. You know, personally, I'm bullish on Cardano, but they definitely have to prove something as well. So there are a lot of I feel like IOTA falls in that level of IOTA, Cardano, Tron, Neo, EOS. Like those are all platforms that are potentially very legit, but have a lot to prove long term. So taking a look at some of these questions here, just making sure. I'm a little bit behind on some of these super chats, so I do apologize. I'm going to try to get to them as fast as I can. Tanner, what's up? What do you think about Funfair? Just from talking to a couple different people that are actually in the gaming industry, I guess it could be fairly interesting, but I haven't heard a lot of people say there's a specific reason why I would ever gamble on a website like Funfair, or why a casino would ever really need to utilize blockchain over what they have in place right now. So I think from a use case perspective, it's potentially interesting, but I also think that just from a couple different people that I've spoken to, that it just might not be blockchain might not be necessary when it comes down to casinos, because degenerate gamblers are going to be degenerate gamblers regardless. Probably not going to care too much about decentralization. So who knows? And another one here. Let's see here. Thoughts on Lomo Coin, $100 million market cap with an actual product, 300,000 downloads, great partnerships, not getting to billion-dollar valuations for nothing. A couple different people have mentioned Lomo Coin. I feel like, I don't know if that's like the active, it's the active shield campaign or what's going on here. $70 million market cap and around for a year plus. I've heard this has been up in my mentions quite a bit, to be honest with you. And sometimes when that happens, that can be a decent, that can definitely be a decent thing. I got to do a little bit more research on these guys to give any type of insight at all, to be pretty frank with you. But I've been seeing this more and more often, and again, this could just be some type of propagated let's get these guys out there or not. But Evelyn, am I still adding to my ELF position? My ELF position is pretty stocked up right now. Another one punted Hoku today. We'll take a look at that bad boy. So I'm not exactly sure if that's an ICO or what that might be. If that is, there we go. World's first I don't know. I'm going to be pretty frank. I mean, I have no idea what these guys do or whatever, but there are so many, like right now, there are so many projects out there that are decentralized that I just don't see a massive need from a decentralization perspective. And these guys, this might be fantastic, having a decentralized affiliate platform, but at the same point in time, like, why does it need to be decentralized? I just don't think, at least in my opinion, everything on the planet needs to be decentralized. So we'll see what ends up happening there. So one super chat that just came in, and I'll go all the way into it. I go on about this for days, but then I got to get back to some of the other ones. So with that one, so hey, Happy New Year. I've been trying to prove that BitConnect is a Ponzi due to all the FUD. I can't find any hard facts to point to it. What are 2 hard facts that you know of to prove it's not legit? I mean, it's pretty easy. It is. There we go. I mean, just go to the SEC right now. It's not too difficult to do. I mean, anybody could say what they want to say and say this is FUD, this is whatever. I mean, this is the Texas Securities Board. This is the SEC, and let me see if I can pull up the actual. There we go. It's the Texas State Securities Board, as well as the SEC, that came out and issued a cease and desist. You're going to start seeing more and more of these. I guarantee it. And if you don't think this is a clear Ponzi scheme, I don't have anything to say to you. And if you want to make money on it, great, fantastic. That's all good. If you're making money on it, hopefully you can continue to do so. Whatever. The thing that that frustrates me is that people are still out there pushing people into investing in this, that are unaware of how much of a crap thing this is. So that frustrates me, just because I know there are a lot of people. There's somebody at the end is going to end up holding the bag. That's literally the definition of a Ponzi scheme, is somebody is going to hold the bag at the bottom. I just hope a lot of you guys aren't the bag holders. It's literally as self-explanatory as humanly possible when you look at their website and all that stuff. So getting back to it, appreciate that super chat, John. I'm going to go back to the top because I've missed a few of these. Andy, what's up? Appreciate the super chat. Hello from India. Learned how on market and what to. Awesome, man. Lawrence, appreciate the super chat as well. And David, too. If I missed any questions there, sorry, guys. They're kind of getting held up, but I don't see them in the super chat. So sorry about that, man. Thoughts on Salt going live, crypto-based loans? I think Salt is interesting. They have a solid team to execute. Will crypto-based loans become anything worthwhile? Potentially, potentially not. I do think that as crypto potentially continues to grow long term, you're going to start seeing more and more opportunities, or more and more places that people are looking to diversify. Because at least, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people, like, as your account balances continue to grow and you're starting to see like really legitimate massive sums of money in crypto, you might look to hedge that, whether it's in traditional investment vehicles or if it's in anything else. Certainly something you might look to hedge in long term. So I think Salt is potentially pretty interesting from a crypto-based loans perspective, and I do think that they have a solid team in place as well. So just going off of the super chats for a second here, a lot of people are saying Tron is a scam. Tron is not a scam. So there was some stuff that actually came out today. I have it open right now. But so apparently Tron, and don't yell at me and say FUD, FUD, FUD. Please don't. I have no interest in Tron or whatever. I have no money in them personally, but so apparently Tron copied a good bit of their white paper from IPFS and Filecoin and did not reference them at all. And some of the other, basically when they created their white paper, there are multiple references or kind of copies that they had to IPFS and Filecoin, and that is leading a lot of people in the industry to say that Tron is basically full of crap. So there are a lot of people out there that are trashing Tron right now. Perhaps rightfully so, perhaps rightfully not. I haven't looked at the white papers side by side, but yeah, I would say, I mean, just from that, Tron might be pretty overvalued. I mean, we're talking about a current right now close to $12 billion market cap, 18 cents. It's gone up massively. But I don't know. I think the founder seems like a very good marketer. Seems like he's fantastic at promotion, and there are a lot of people out there that are very big on Tron. So yeah, I would just say, if you're investing in Tron or if you have invested in Tron, check out. Remove the FUD cap. Just remove it for a second. Read the article, or read some of the information. See if it's legit or not. I don't have money in Tron, so I don't really care. If you have money in Tron, I would, at the very least, I would check it out. I would see if this is legit, and if this is a reason to not put your money into it, or if it's a reason to drop the price and then you want to buy more, then buy more. But at the very least, this is something that a lot of prominent people in the crypto industry are talking about. So it's worth a look if you are an investor in Tron, or if you have, or if you're considering investing in the future as well. So just definitely something I would take a look. Crisco, Trig, it boomed and noobs are selling. Thoughts? So I think Trig is Trig now on Binance? I believe it might be. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, Trig is on Binance right now. Hasn't been on Binance for that long. Let's see. Oh. So, it looks pretty identical to what it did back in September. And I don't know all that much about Trig. I know it has to do with guns. I literally laughed when I found out that Trig was short for trigger. And it spiked up real hard back in like mid-September, because I think there was a rumored partnership with a very large metropolitan police department in the U.S. But, yeah. So, Jared, I will get to yours in a second, man. I do apologize. A couple in front. Thoughts on the Legolas Exchange ICO? Are they just taking characters from Lord of the Ring now? Haven't gotten a chance to go all the way into this. I would say one thing that is potentially fairly interesting about it is the hybrid model of both centralized and decentralized. I think hybrid decentralization, basically not fully decentralized, is something that is fairly interesting at this point in time for a lot of projects or assets, just because fully decentralized doesn't necessarily work that great, especially when you consider the congestion on something like the Ethereum network or some of the other things there. As far as doing full due diligence on these guys, I'll have to take a look. Exchanges have done really well, whether it's been exchange coins or decentralized exchange coins. 0x has crushed it. Kyber Network has crushed it. AirSwap, we're flying. AirSwap has crushed it. So 0x and AirSwap have done really well. Kyber Network as well. But Binance tokens done really well. Qcoin's token has done really well. So exchanges have been hot recently. Will they continue to be hot? Maybe, maybe not. But maybe that means this one is worth a look. So for sure, what is my opinion on Opus? Down with OPT. It's crazy how just every smaller altcoin has just crushed it since December. Like, if your altcoin hasn't crushed it, it's probably been fairly probably not the best thing on the planet. I'll have to take a further look at these guys. But speaking of IPFS, which is also, I know what, which was the whole deal with Tron was IPFS, but also what Bloom is kind of building on as well. So that might be interesting in and of itself. I feel like I've seen these guys around quite a bit. Pretty attractive just in terms of the smaller size per se, but I need to do a little bit more diligence on these guys to see really if I could add any specific color whatsoever. Somebody said Ethereum crashing. I'm just kind of curious to see as I pull that up. It could certainly be pulling back. Yeah. Am I nuts, or is Ethereum not crashing at all? Who just said Ethereum is crashing? Get your head out of the gutter. Looking into these. So, Jared, sorry for the wait, brother. Thoughts on RaiBlocks? Am I interested? Personally, I'm not as interested in RaiBlocks as I would have been. I missed the boat. at least I think I missed the boat on RaiBlocks. Shout out to Kyle Babcock and all the people that were well on that, well on that RaiBlocks train at the sub 100, $100 million market cap, sub $200 million market cap, that type of place. But personally, right now, for me, I am not as interested in RaiBlocks, seeing as how large it is. Could it still be a great play? Yeah, perhaps. But, I mean, it's gone up so much that, at least at this point in time, I feel like there's probably better bargains out there at this point. Somebody said RaiBlocks is going to kill it when it gets added to Binance next week. It certainly could, and I think that's absolutely going to add a nice level of liquidity to it. I think it's probably going to be one of the hotter coins on Binance for sure. Will that long term end up crushing it? I don't know. Let's see here. As if you're gonna comment the same thing like 7,000 times, I will block you. So I'll try to get to as many of them as possible. But if you really absolutely must have it answered, throw it in a super chat and I will get to it. But if not, don't comment the same thing 7,000 times because I see it the first time you comment it most of the time. Thoughts on Verge? I personally am more interested in some of the other privacy coins out there. If I'm being pretty frank, I mean, this level of move from Verge is mind-blowing. It literally melts your brain how hard Verge moved. I am, with Verge right now kind of being basically equivalent to Zcash in market cap and price. Granted, Zcash is at 891. I am both interested in Zcash more than I am with Verge. Also, Z Classic. Z Classic is another one that is going to be a fork. I'm also interested in seeing how Z Classic pans out. I think there are a lot of people out there that have said some pretty positive things about Z Classic, and I think they're going to execute better than Bitcoin Gold has as well. So I'm more interested, at least personally, in Z Classic, Zcash, also Monero too. Monero's larger. But I just kind of, in my personal opinion, I trust those teams to execute more than I trust the Verge team. That's just me. John, appreciate that, dude. And Claudio as well. Thank you guys so much for those chats. Should a new investor hold 100% Bitcoin until the market drops? I don't necessarily recommend that. I mean, obviously not investment advice, but I think, I think you kind of want a level of diversification in the market, not necessarily for when the market goes down, because I think when the market goes down, the entire market goes down and there's really not that many places to hide. But when it comes down to getting different, maximizing profit, at least in my mind, if you just hold Bitcoin, you're going to miss out on a lot of the smaller like altcoin pops. So I personally, I mean, if anybody ever wants to see it all, you can simply go to my website. It's cryptobobby.com, and then go to my portfolio. And from there, you can see the different crypto. This was updated 3 days ago. I haven't made any changes personally to my actual holdings. The percentages have changed a little bit just with the movements of how things go from a fiat perspective. But the majority of my holdings are in Bitcoin. 24% are in Bitcoin. But I do have exposure kind of throughout with other crypto assets out there as well. So I think that you want to, if you don't know where to put your money in, if you have no idea, I would say put a little bit of money in Bitcoin, perhaps a little bit in maybe Ethereum or Litecoin, and then study a bunch. Like, do nothing but study crypto. Find out what you find is interesting. Find out what you feel like is legit. Study as much as possible, and then put your money elsewhere. I wouldn't just recommend being brand new to crypto, buying Bitcoin, and then saying, okay, I'm going to pick a bunch of random places. You could probably make money right now because everybody makes money, but that might not always last super long. So just a really quick thought there. Do you think Oyster Pearl helps with the problem of YouTube demonetization as it doesn't depend on ads? So I think Brave Basic Attention Token is doing this as well. One thing I would say to that, though, is that it's going to be really hard to get the adoption levels that they need. To be pretty frank, I'm registered on Brave Basic Attention Token as a registered on Basic Attention Token as like a verified publisher. I think I made like $35 last month. I made a lot more than that on YouTube. So for me to say like, yeah, there's absolutely problems with YouTube. Like basically every one of my videos gets demonetized at some point in time because I'll like say a curse word like shit, and it will automatically demonetize my video like after it plays because their algorithm will like pick up on that and other crap. But still, it's like, at least just from like a creator's perspective, it's still a lot. Like you would never be able to make a living on you never be able to make a living right now on Brave or Basic Attention Token. Any thoughts on V Token? Former Tether creators are behind the project. I don't know if being a former Tether creator is necessarily the best thing on the planet. It's already pumped pretty hard, which is fairly impressive. I've seen a lot of big guys tweet about this. I feel like Novogratz has tweeted about this. What's his face? Ron Newer has tweeted about this. His calls are usually pretty solid as well. I haven't gotten a full chance to go through the entire deal with these guys as well, but I've seen enough kind of short term about this about this project that sounds fairly interesting to do a little bit more diligence on. It's already gone up quite a bit, but what hasn't? I think somebody's kind of joking in YouTube today that said like, hey, you always say, you never buy into pumps, and then you just bought into a pump or whatever it might have been when I was talking about Mercury Protocol. But everything is basically pumped. It's been kind of hard to find something that hasn't pumped. That's like the big thing I was doing a couple days ago with like going hard into AirSwap and some of the other ones. But now everything is really, really pumped for the most part, pretty hard. Bruv, the people want to hear about UTrust. I promise I'll get to UTrust, guys. I will. Give me a second here as I go through these super chats as well, but I will definitely get to UTrust there too. Why did you add Bread to your portfolio? I added Bread because they had a solid team. They have an existing project in place, and there's enough of an investment thesis there that they could potentially be a crypto bank or something that could be a gateway to get fiat into crypto at some point in time, enough so that people would be fairly interested in investing in it. So I thought on those kind of they had a modest raise from their ICO, and I thought just long term, or I mean at least short to medium term, there was enough juice there to pump the project up, which has been for the most part. I mean, if we look at it, I'll pull up Bread right now. For the most part, I mean, that has been definitely true. I think I got into Bread when it was at maybe $1. I think it was at like $1.15 is when I got into Bread, maybe a little bit less. So actually, no, it's probably about $1.50 is where I got into Bread, in that range, and it's certainly appreciated nicely since then. Marcos, I think you might have asked some questions previously, Marcos. Let me know. Copy and paste the question again into just the regular chat, and I will definitely look at it. Somebody said, what was your detailed thought process on investing in AirSwap? So for me personally, I participated in the AirSwap ICO. So I already did a bunch of due diligence on AirSwap. And then after the ICO, it was when things cooled off pretty significantly. It was trading at a discount from basically right off the bat, it pretty much traded at a discount from the ICO price. So if you invested in the ICO for quite some time, you had actually lost money. And I sold most of my AirSwap at a loss after the ICO for like a 10-15% loss, took the loss, and then moved on into basically threw that back into Bitcoin. And that ended up working well for the most part. But after I saw kind of the market moving from Bitcoin to a lot of these other cryptocurrencies out there, I knew AirSwap was a very legit project. They have a super solid team. They're backed by consensus. They're trying to accomplish a decentralized exchange. They're doing it in a different manner than they are doing it in a different manner than something like 0x, although neither is right, neither is wrong. They're doing it in a different way than Kyber Network is. But I looked at that and I figured that the team is solid. The project is solid. Things like Dogecoin are pumping. If Dogecoin can pump, and if like all these crap coins can pump, AirSwap, which is super, super legit, can also make it happen too. So I just looked at it as a super legit project with very solid founders, technology that's moving further along the roadmap, and I wanted to go into it from there as well. Interested in my opinion on Modem MOD. This is a company that works with existing products and real-life use cases. Total supply around 27 mil tokens. Bullish on Modem and growing $3. So if this is what I'm thinking about, and I think it is, so Modem, a lot of you guys I talk about, I talk a lot about that like meetup group that talk a lot about that meetup group that I'm kind of part of in New York. Let's see if this loads or not. But I talk a lot about that meetup group that I'm part of in New York. And the guy, one of the guys that recommended, a couple of the guys that recommended both Cardano at 3 cents, AirSwap more recently, a couple of some of the other ICOs, Z Classic at like $50. One of the guys participated in the Modem ICO, and it's one of his, I think, heavier bags. So he's really positive on Modem. I don't have any money in Modem. So I don't have any money in Modem at this point in time. But yeah, who knows? Somebody said, "Holy shit, $200! That's insane." Just to let you guys know that I'm not totally rich. I think that's Mexican pesos. So I'm not rich yet, guys. But thank you, Acapulco Ron. You are my dude. What is up? And I definitely will get to your super chat in a second, but you know, might get a shot at tequila with that one. But long story short, just on that guy's opinion alone, I would say Modem is pretty solid. I basically trust him with my crypto life, and he is super positive on Modem, got in on the ICO, and has held it for a long, long time. So I definitely think that's a solid project. What do you feel about modal trade ICO? Well, another ICO. Another ICO. Somebody said thoughts on Wabi. I just made a pretty decent sized entry in my portfolio into Wabi, and I'm happy about it. Wabi, Bobby. It also rhymes with me as well. I'm pretty sure that's pesos. I literally had to Google one time. What is MX to the USD? So Acapulco Ron, the peso is 2-1. So I sent a little. Yeah. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it, my man. Letter of credit on blockchain without a bank. Uber for small Jesus. Anytime anybody claims to be the Uber of anything else, run. I'm just kind of kidding, but almost serious at the same point in time. I feel like that was like a cool thing to say from an investment perspective back in the day, but I don't know if you want to say you're an Uber of anything anymore. So who really knows with that? But yeah, I would need to look into the product a little bit more and see kind of what the deal is. Global trade. So there's a couple. I feel like there's a couple guys out here, like in terms of small business financing, trade financing, how that might work. But I need to do a little bit of like research on these to see exactly if this is something that needs to be on the blockchain or not. It needs to have a token there as well. We said look up SpankChain. I've actually heard pretty good things about SpankChain. I'll be pretty honest with you, pretty crazy. I'm not going to pull it up here because YouTube probably wouldn't be happy with that. But I've read the SpankChain white paper. It's kind of funny. Real quick, one super chat there. Have you gotten a chance to buy GMT? Yeah, I did. That transaction went through. I used the ledger to do so on EtherDelta. EtherDelta is a pain in the butt to use. Definitely the biggest pain in the butt out there. But I am definitely a pain. I would try and recommend like seeing if there's a YouTube video out there because it can kind of be, even for something like myself, initially it was fairly confusing. So looking at any thoughts on Neblio? Not too much at this point in time. I think it's performed fairly well. I know there's a couple people I know that are pretty positive on Neblio. As far as the differentiation it has between some other platforms, I've yet to see exactly what that differentiation might be about. But I think Neblio, from my understanding, there's a pretty solid team behind Neblio. But me putting money in it, I don't have any money in it yet. I know a few people that have a decent holding that I feel like are pretty solid in the industry, but I don't have anything in it yet, and I haven't really been super compelled to do that at this point in time. Somebody said Lend or Daddy ICO. Apparently the Daddy ICO, apparently they, let me see, Crypto Cobain, I think they, speaking of folks that plagiarized a white paper, let's see here. I believe, I want to say these guys. So here's Tron talking about that. So there's one point, I forget who it was, but oh, here we go. So apparently the Daddy ICO, they plagiarized the Sonam white paper, and I was trying to find exactly where that was, but apparently they took quite a bit of the Sonam white paper and basically ripped it off. I don't know if it was word for word or not, but pretty close to it. So I think a lot of folks were actually initially interested in the Daddy. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Daddy. What's up, Daddy? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but apparently they plagiarized quite a bit of that, and that was initially an ICO that I think a decent amount of people are excited about, and now it is something that they are not so much, especially after that plagiarism. I would expect potentially if the Tron stuff comes out, I think that's kind of at surface level right now on Twitter. If that gets confirmed pretty heavily, that might be negative. That might be pretty negative for Tron as well. We'll have to see, though. So, somebody said new website and rebranding. Have I checked out BitClave? They've actually reached out to me a couple different times, Cormac, to do like an ICO review. I haven't done that. I've kind of strayed away from most of the ICOs recently, but Dentacoin. I'm going to send you the dentist if you keep sending that. General Tony, what is up, dude? Hey, Bobby. Thoughts on Myriad XMY? Came across it recently. Looks like it has potential. I'll take a quick look here, see what is up. Smaller market cap, which is nice. A coin for everyone. I mean, just off the top, to be pretty frank, I don't know exactly why this might be necessary. Like, there are a lot of assets out there. There are a lot of, cryptocurrencies that have, whether it's Bitcoin Gold, whether it's Vertcoin, whether it's whatever, there are a lot of other ones out there that have they're like, hey, this is a coin for everybody. It's basically just used for mining and trading. Like, nobody's really using those coins for the most part. Not saying that about Vert or some of those, but like Bitcoin Gold, I mean, that's whole market cap, that's whole like marketing was, hey, that's whole marketing was, we're going to be an ASIC resistant, an ASIC resistant coin, all this stuff. And this is to have multiple levels of mining, SHA-256, Script, Grost as well. I don't know. I need to do a little bit more diligence on it, but it's down 21% today, which isn't super hot. And if the only reason for the coin is simply to mine, this is just very high level, but if the only reason the coin is simply to mine and to transact, I think you're going to need a little bit more, going with that as well. Have looked into Navcoin, got a bunch of them. I have looked into Nav a little bit. I think that it's one of maybe the interesting privacy plays from the perspective of it's a little bit smaller just in terms of the overall market cap, but and from a price perspective as well, if you're looking at something where, hey, this is quote unquote cheap, which it definitely is in comparison to both Monero and Zcash and even some of the other ones, it could be a nice cheap play from a privacy perspective. It's made a pretty big time move recently, US dollar value, but from a Bitcoin trading perspective, it's still pretty, it still hasn't hit its all-time high, so that's fairly good to see. Could have gone in another run, and exceed its previous Bitcoin trading pairing all-time high? Certainly possible. Somebody mentioned Marcos. There we go. Sorry about that, man. I apologize for not getting to that in time. I bought Cardano at 20 cents, cashed out half when it was at $1.20, but I really think it has much more room to grow, so I'm thinking about buying more if it falls to 90 cents. What do you think? Personally, I don't think that's a bad idea. I do think Cardano is one of the more compelling projects out there. I'm supposed to hopefully be speaking to the founder, Charles Hodgkinson, or one of the co-founders of Cardano IOHK, Input Output Hong Kong. Supposed to hopefully be speaking to him this week at some point in time. So I'm looking forward to setting that up. That would be great to get some insights from Charles. But I do think that that is going to be one of the, potentially one of the more legit projects. And I think out of all the quote-unquote competitors to Ethereum, that might be a really interesting competitor to Ethereum or complement to Ethereum from a platform play. So I am bullish on Cardano long-term. Could it pull back more in the short term? Yes. And if it does pull back significantly, I do think I will buy quite a bit of it. So I might be in the same, in the same boat as you there. Can you please remember to ask him about ETC versus ADA? Yeah, for sure. I can definitely do that. Thoughts on Packcoin, Cryptopia, Litecoin, Dogecoin being down. What's up, Doge, Doge Bitcoin? I mean, is Dogecoin really? Let's see. Is Dogecoin down? I mean, who's saying Dogecoin's down? Dogecoin is basically at all-time highs right now, which is just nuts. So Dogecoin is crushing it. I mean, as far as Litecoin being down, I don't know. I feel like Litecoin had a nice run recently, and I feel like Litecoin had a very nice run recently, but as far as just kind of continually performing, I feel like Litecoin has fantastic utility. Like, I love Litecoin from a utility perspective. I use Litecoin to transfer my money between exchanges now because it is, quite frankly, one of the most functional cryptocurrencies out there. But I don't love Litecoin from an investment perspective per se. I'm not like the biggest Litecoin investor. There are a lot of people out there that think Litecoin is going to like $2,000 or something like that. And I'm not like one of those Litecoin to the moon guys. I just think there's maybe more like interesting long-term shots out there. I feel like it's in some cases very similar to, Bitcoin in terms of its, not necessarily its movements, but kind of the functionality. And when I spread out my money, I look for different functionality. So, and thoughts on Packcoin. I mean, that's another one that's been like the hot pump of, it's been one that's pumped up like, I don't know. That looks so unnatural to me. I don't know why it's pumping so hard, to be pretty frank, but like, I mean, this just looks like how can you look at this and be like, oh, wow, that just looks so appealing to me? I don't know. That just scares the living. That scares my face off. Somebody said thoughts on Proppy. Take a quick look at these bad boys. Discord pump and dump coin. Yeah, potentially. So I've seen Proppy advertised all over the place. Where can you buy a property for $10,000 in New York? on what planet is that? Or is that just part of it? So I need a little bit more diligence on these guys to see kind of what the platform is like and what it's all about. But if this is something where and to be honest, I don't really know yet, but if this is something where you can diversify some level of your crypto money into real estate, that is, I've seen a lot more people talk about that because they're quite frankly, there's a lot of people out there that are really getting like generationally wealthy on crypto. And if there's a way that you can buy real estate directly with crypto, I feel like that could potentially be interesting. I don't know if that is just the overall goal of Proppy, but I know that there are a lot of people that are literally looking to like diversify some of their crypto gains into Proppy, or excuse me, into real estate, just because it is, they want to minimize some of the exposure, and at least if the whole market crashes or something like that, hey, we got a house out of it, or something of that nature. Bradley, just want to say thank you. I appreciate that. Acapulco Ron, what is up, dude? Today, any altcoin can make money for daily or short-term trades. The Wild West all over again. When the bullets stop, the smoke clears. What top 5 alts do you think can have a solid product out now, not just promise? So, I mean, I think there are a couple. I guess it depends on like how altcoiny you want to go. Like, do you really like when you say what are the top ones that have promise? What are the top ones that have promise? How low do we want to go? As far as things that really have like significant, significant benefit, I think that obviously. So I'll say something like echoing what I said before. I think Cardano is potentially from an altcoin perspective really interesting. I think they have a really solid team in place. The peer research, the PhD type approach that they have is fascinating, and I think that type of the way they're moving towards governance is really, really smart. So I think Cardano is interesting. I think Monero is another one from a privacy coin perspective. I think both Monero and Zcash are fascinating, and I think that they have a very solid chance that after all is said and done, both Monero and Zcash, one or the other, might be there long term. In addition to that, let's say, I would say BitConnect. No, I'm just kidding. No, not them. They'll be here forever. It'll never happen. SEC is just funning. The SEC is just funning. Let's say one of, in addition to that, let's say one of the decentralized exchanges as well. I don't know which one, but I would say either Kyber, 0x, or AirSwap. One of the three is still going to be around and will have a solid product and not just promise. And then from there, I mean, I think obviously Bitcoin. And I also think Ripple too. I'm not an investor in Ripple. I personally think Ripple is highly overvalued. I like what they're doing. I think Ripple is, but my personal opinion, I don't think there's any way, shape, or form Ripple should have a $125 billion market cap and be worth $3.20. But I'm wrong, and the market's right, and the market says what it's worth. But I do think long term that Ripple is a very legitimate company that has so much money in its arsenal right now that like it's almost going to be impossible for them to not be around for a long, long time. So I think Ripple is potentially really, could be around for quite some time, even if you don't like them or whatever. Zach, appreciate the super chat there, dude. Already answered that, Raleigh, so appreciate that, man. Thoughts on banks starting to market make in 2018. So, I mean, from a market making perspective with the banks, it's going to be more, I feel like, on the derivative perspective. So whether it's going to be with these Bitcoin futures or some of these other futures as well, I think that most of the banks and the big institutions are not touching the underlying asset of Bitcoin or any of these other assets as well. So I feel like it's going to be mostly market making on the derivative side of the house and not necessarily on really having anything to do with some of the underlying asset of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple or whatever it is. Thoughts on UKG? UKG's pumped pretty hard. I know a lot of people like Unicoin Gold quite a bit. I've seen a lot of people pump these guys pretty hard on Twitter, and I think they have a pretty solid backing. Interesting use case, esports wise. Does it need to be on the blockchain? Maybe, maybe not. Between UKG and between Wax Token, those are two that have I feel like a ton of institutional backing, a ton of like big name guys behind them, and it's making those dudes rich, and that is for sure. So I don't have any money in UKG. I don't know if it's done pumping or not, but I think that there is some solid institutional interest behind it, and some guys that could definitely make some markets move for sure. How many exchanges are you registered with? Nice try, IRS. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, most of my trading is done on Bittrex or Binance now. Binance kind of being newer. Used to be Poloniex back in the day before Poloniex just died. Somebody said Packcoin, BTC. So I don't really know all that much about Packcoin, but just that the way that chart looked, that just scares the ever-living heck out of me. Thoughts on voting on the blockchain decision token? I suppose it could be pretty interesting. I do think that something like this is potentially pretty far off as well. So to actually, like so many tokens out there, I feel like it's all speculation. And granted, everything in this, everything I'm doing is speculation too. I'm speculating on what people are going to care about. So that is something that, like, for the most part, you just have to take into account. Is this the type of thing that could potentially pump up a price long term? Anybody could just say, oh, voting on the blockchain, voting crypto. Sure, that, yeah, it could definitely pump it long term, but I haven't gone through the entire process of doing full research on Horizon State by any stretch. Cormac, appreciate the super chat there. Thank you very much for that. Thoughts on DBC, BTC, on Qcoin? Will it recover from this correction? Deep Brain Chain. Let's see here. I'll pull it up. So I guess Qcoin's not on Coinigy, so I can't see. I mean, I don't know when you got in, but that doesn't look like much of a correction to me. I mean, I guess a little bit of a correction, but I mean, what correction are we looking at here? Looks like it's just been pumping through the roof. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's corrected a little bit in the past day or so, but yeah, I guess it's down from like 44 cents down to 39. But that's the problem when you get into something that's gone up and up and up, is at some point in time there's going to be a pullback. Are you all right with the pullback or not? Bobby stacking Nebulous. No, I don't have any Nebulous personally. Tron. Holy crap, the FOMO real now. I'm not participating in any of that FOMO. But that's just me. Somebody said, I think they were asking for your opinion on the LTC market pair being down on Cryptopia for the past day or so. So I don't use Cryptopia, so I don't know too much about that. But yeah, I actually did hear about Cryptopia having the Litecoin pair down. I don't necessarily know why, if that might be wallet maintenance. I think Cryptopia stopped taking in new users as well. I feel like they had, somebody mentioned they had 300,000 new users in the past week or so, which is just crazy. So it might have to do with scaling the platform, something in that regards. Thoughts on BNB after Binance opens up for new accounts again? Already pumped too much, stay away, or still room up? I have a little bit of BNB, just in kind of like a little side altcoin, crapcoin portfolio. I don't really consider it I'm not looking to BNB for much of an investment, more of just having BNB so I get those discounted trading fees on Binance. So that's kind of my biggest thing there. And then somebody mentioned Power Ledger made it into the top 10 of Richard Branson's Extreme Tech Challenge 2018. Finals will be in Vegas on the 11th of January if they win. Moon. Yeah, that might be interesting if they win. Power Ledger's already pumped nicely. That's one of my biggest regrets of 2017 was not getting in on Power Ledger, to be pretty frank. That sucked. I had an opportunity to get into Power Ledger on the pre-sale at a very, very solid rate, and I did not take that opportunity. I had an opportunity to get free Power Ledger tokens, and guess who turned them down? This guy. So, yeah. That one of my bigger regrets of 2017. So, who knows? That's it's definitely an unfortunate way to to look back. Wax doing well today. Views. Novogratz the god. Was big on Wax token. He was shilling Wax token back on, I think, CNBC or Bloomberg. He was dropping that. So that was good news. And that was a while ago. That was kind of right at the end of the ICO. I actually had the chance again to participate in the Wax ICO towards the end. I thought it was going to be overvalued. I looked at the amount of contributions in Wax, and I just thought they were raising way too much money. Didn't matter at all. Just didn't matter at all. and the amount of money they raised is crushing it. So I missed out on Wax long term. Is there that much value in video game skins for a $570 million market cap asset? Maybe, maybe not, but they have a solid team in place. I haven't used the product at all. I'm not really a video gamer at all, so other than just being terrible at Call of Duty every once in a while, so who knows. Ethereum Ripple making it to #1 position in 2018. Thoughts? I kind of doubt it personally. I think there's so much room to catch up, and I do think a lot of the institutional money is going to flow into Bitcoin. Steve. Prediction for Stellar and Cardano by December 2018. That's tough. I don't necessarily love to make those predictions because I'm pretty much probably going to be wrong. But if you really want me to make a prediction, let's say Cardano is $2 in the end of 2018. We'll say Cardano is $2 at the end of 2018, and we'll say Stellar is $1. It's a dumb prediction that I'm literally pulling out of my butt right now. So, and thoughts on Stellar? I think Stellar is interesting. When Ripple crushed it, I thought that Stellar was going to pump next, and Stellar already has pumped quite a bit. I don't know if necessarily the pump is over or not, but I think you've seen a little bit of cooling off in some of the ones that like Ripple, and a little bit of consolidation in Ripple and Stellar recently, which maybe give me a little bit of, I think personally, I mean, you look back at it, the time to invest in Ripple and Stellar was obviously a month or two ago when nobody was talking about it. Now everybody's talking about it. And I think long-term Stellar might have a pretty good shot, but I'm not like super just over the moon to invest in, in Stellar at this point in time. I'm going to take 2 more Super Chats here, and then I will actually 3 more Super Chats at this point in time. And then I will take 2 more questions. So no more Super Chats, please, guys. Chris Ray, nobody give me any more Super Chats. But Quan, what's up? Happy Sunday. Monday, yippee. What are your thoughts on 2018 being cryptomania, continuing from 2017 and 2019 when it all comes burning down? I have no clue. 2017 was an incredibly crazy year in the crypto world. If 2018 is anywhere near as good as 2017 was, I'm going to be one of the happiest people on the planet, personally. I know that for a fact. Hopefully you will be as well, because you're watching this on January 7th. And if 2018 is anywhere near as good as 2017 was, you're going to be pretty wealthy at the end of 2018. Will that happen? I don't know how much farther the market can run. Some people are saying 5 or 10x greater. That would be freaking incredible. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Trying to predict the future is really difficult, but I'm hopeful and optimistic, but I'm getting prepared in case that's not the case. Thoughts on Sportify? Raising money in third world countries is indeed hard. Feel like they have a good product. I think Sportify, Charlie, what's his face, is an advisor. Although he's advised a lot of projects recently. I feel like I've seen these guys previously. I'm not like, I don't know, decentralized sports, like investing in different. Yeah, so it's Charlie Shrem is one of the advisors. Investing in like athletes, or I don't know. It doesn't really like, you're trying to, one thing that I think is fairly interesting with a lot of crypto is like, is it an existing idea and can you just throw a blockchain on it and make money off it? Like Dentacoin. Dentacoin might be nothing. It might crush it. Who knows? But it's literally like, they're like dentist blockchain. Boom. Good. This is saying like, oh, we're going to be a sport managing platform, donations, sponsorships, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's more confusing than just being like dentist blockchain, dentist blockchain, dentist blockchain. $2 billion. What's up, Gamer Rick? Hope everything's going on. Thoughts on Knowles? Sup with your shirt? I don't know if anything's wrong with my shirt or not. It's just a shirt. But I'll pull up Knowles. Get rid of some of these things. Knowles is nothing. Knowles is anything. Another smart contract, multi-chain mechanism, cross-chains. And I've in a lot of cases, there are multiple companies out there, multiple more that other ones out there that are kind of going through this process of trying to do multi-chain, cross-chain consensus and enabling smart contracts. And ELF, for me, is one of those plays. That's kind of the reason I played ELF, was because there is multi-chains and also the ability to, if you have CryptoKitties clogging up the Ethereum network or the ELF network or whatever, if you have CryptoKitties clogging up kind of one network, you can have an additional chain, and you can have different dedicated chains. So I think that Knowles, I haven't done a lot of diligence on these guys, but it does have some of the buzzwords that typically pump crypto. I bought ELF just because of the name. I bought ELF just because Will Ferrell. I mean, let's be real. No, I'm kidding. I watched a bunch of videos on ELF from the founders. Read the white paper, thought it was pretty interesting. I think I just butchered the actual use case and kind of what they're trying to do. I mean, I definitely totally did, but I'm pretty positive on ELF long term. Coins from Asia, love pumping. Asian coins pump all day, every day. Somebody said, I think I might have missed this one. Oh, there we go. So Chris Ray, what's up, dude? Have you checked out the GEMS ICO? Would love to know your thoughts. I've done a little bit of initial diligence on them. I'm trying to arrange an interview with the founding team. They reached out to me a while ago. I missed the email, so I'm trying to catch up, see if I can get in contact with them. But I don't know if he's still in here. My guy Greg, who called Cardano at 3 cents and Cardano at 3 cents, and then also a couple other ones, is very big on GEMS. I know a couple other folks that are very big on GEMS, so I'm definitely interested in seeing what might be there. It's probably one of the few ICOs that I'm really interested in participating in the future, and I think the ICO investing is kind of now hot again. Skincoin already selling Call of Duty skins. Haven't seen that. Wax Token, I guess, is a direct competitor. There are a couple other ones. The gaming industry is definitely something that a lot of people are really excited about and seem to be applying blockchain tech to, and trying to go over as much as possible, because everybody wanted to talk about UTrust. We can talk a little bit about UTrust right now. So we've covered these guys a little bit in the past, trying to be the level of sophistication of PayPal in comparison to basically being a payment mechanism, kind of similar to PayPal, but a little bit more focused on like a decentralized layer. I haven't gotten a chance to use them, and I think that's probably the biggest thing, is I really need to set these guys up and use them. And I guess the one thing, and I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but from like a payment perspective, customer payment perspective, they have that in place with UTrust, and how they're able to have customer payment protection when you really can't do something like that with Bitcoin or with any of these other cryptocurrencies, because it is once you send Bitcoin, once you send Ethereum, once you send Dogecoin, it doesn't matter what you send, it's permanent. So I'm interested how they handle that. I'm sure that is available in the white paper. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Yeah, just looking initially speaking at the ICO itself, obviously this would have been a fantastic ICO to participate in. I do like the conservative raise as well. I mean, maximum crowd sale cap of 21 mil. That's pretty solid. And the fact that they have a diluted UTrust fund, as well as they did a pre-sale for investors, and they have a 1-year vesting period. I don't know what the discount is. That's one thing, but I do like the fact that they do have a vesting period for pre-sale investors, so that that's one of the big problems with ICOs now, is that there's pre-sales, and these pre-sale investors get these massive discounts. Some are literally, you might be buying an ICO token at $1. Somebody pre-sale, whether it's some big hedge fund or something like that, they might be buying it at 15 cents, 20 cents. And from there, the second that hits an exchange at $1, there is nothing preventing them from dumping that on your head and taking an 85-cent profit or something like that. So certainly something you want to keep in mind. And the last question I'll take here is, what do you think of Ethos and AST and overbought? I like AirSwap still on AirSwap. Ethos, I think, has a lot of seems like it has a lot of community support. Depends on if they can actually execute on the idea. But I'm still pretty bullish on AirSwap for the time being. I think that is probably going to be at least a medium-term hold for me, as well as 0x. I think decentralized exchanges, the closer they get to the roadmap, the better, and or to like having a legitimate like functioning product. So I'm excited to see, and I think going up into that time period, you're going to get more news releases, and you can have more excitement. And anytime anything negative happens with with that, we'll see. What do you think about the BitConnect X ICO? I hope you're kidding. Oh, Jesus, that's Jordan. Tell Jordan before we sign off here that he needs to super chat. Chris, go. Awesome. Looking at some of these questions. Guys, if you are new to the channel by any chance as well, hit the subscribe button and the notify bell. Yeah, thank you, Caleb. I appreciate that. What's up? I squeaked. But if you are new to the channel by any chance, hit the subscribe button, the notify bell. Again, thank you guys for 100,000 subscribers. I really don't know how to thank anybody. It's pretty crazy, pretty incredible. So I really do want to say thank you for that. I mean, it's nuts. Just long term. I can't believe it. So somebody said AST versus 0x. Which do you prefer? Personally, I have pretty equal sized bags of both. They're attacking decentralized exchanges in a different manner. So AirSwap is more of like a peer-to-peer decentralized exchange, whereas 0x it's not like directly peer-to-peer. So AirSwap versus 0x, I don't know which one will win, and I think both have solid teams in place, so I personally own both. And golly jeepers, I said last Super Chats, I said no more. Darn it, Bartos. What do you think about Nebulous? Looks like a solid team, Neo founders through white paper, active GitHub, unique use case. I've heard good things about Nebulous. I'll pull it up. So I've heard fairly good things about Nebulous. As far as the founding team, I think that's always big. I don't necessarily know if the active GitHub means all that much long term, but I could probably stand to do a little bit more full-on diligence from a use case perspective before I give you really solid any type of answer there. So I know there's a couple other. I don't know how much this compares to BitClave and what my role on there, but I don't know. I need a little bit more due diligence on them, quite frankly. So definitely something I need to to look at long term. You guys hate letting me go, don't you? No more super chats. No more. Because I got to answer them if you do. Ryan M, please talk about Tron. Talked a little bit about Tron previously. They have previously gotten in trouble. Like very, very recently, they potentially got in trouble for plagiarizing some level of, here we go, right here. So apparently they plagiarized at least some part of the IPFS Filecoin white paper without giving it any bit of a reference. I don't know how true that is. It's flying around like crazy on the ICO or on Twitter and on all these websites. So if you are an investor, be somewhat wary. Maybe it's legit, maybe it's not. I don't know. But just one thing I'll say, and I'll leave it off with this, is don't just scream FUD. Read what's wrong. Read what's happening. See if it's legit. If it is legit, if that affects your situation at all, then whatever. If that doesn't, then buy more or hold on to it. So something that I think you just want to be aware of, because this is literally circulating in the last like 12 hours. So yeah, who knows? But outside of that, guys, I really do appreciate the time. Thank you guys so much for Crisco. No more super chats. No more 10 questions. I want to go to bed. I got work tomorrow. But I appreciate everybody's questions. Good luck, whether you're buying, trading, holding, selling, whatever it is you're doing in crypto right now. I hope you guys crush it. Again, thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the questions. Hope you enjoyed Crypto Happy Hour tonight. Take it easy. Peace.